All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we're diving deep into Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book, it's a classic, and for good reason. I mean, it really promises to unlock the secrets to success. But what I find super interesting is, well, who commissioned it? Andrew Carnegie himself.
Oh, absolutely. The steel tycoon who, well, he really believed there was a magic formula to achieve anything you set your mind to.
Yeah, pretty powerful stuff.
It is. And, Carnegie gave Hill a massive task: interview hundreds, literally hundreds of successful people over decades
Hmm?
to, I guess, figure out what their secret was, what made them tick. And we're not talking about just anyone. We're talking giants of industry like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison.
Wow, yeah, those are big names.
Huge. And get this, there's a story about a young Charles Schwab who used these very principles, the ones in this book, to strike a deal with J.P. Morgan, worth, wait for it, $600 million.
$600 million. Talk about high stakes.
Oh, yeah.
So today what we're going to do is try to, I guess, distill those core principles that he talks about, the most memorable stories from Hill's research.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing that struck me was how he kind of frames the book. It's like a quest for this Carnegie secret, right? He hints that it'll only reveal itself to those readers who are, truly ready.
Ready to receive it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you want to, lean in and be like, all right, am I ready? What is the secret?
Absolutely. And he says Hill, that is, claims he spent 20 years testing this secret with thousands of people.
Wow, that's a long time.
So it's not just some, like, theoretical thing. It's been put to the test.
Yeah, so it's not just airy-fairy feel-good stuff. He actually put it into practice.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And one of the first principles he digs into is, the power of desire.
Okay, desire.
But not just wanting something,
Yeah.
We all want things, but a burning, unwavering desire that, like, pushes you forward.
That fuels you.
Yeah. And he tells this amazing story about this guy, Edwin Barnes.
Okay.
He was so determined to work with Thomas Edison that he, get this, traveled by freight train just to get to him.
What? By freight train?
Yeah, you have to admire that dedication.
Yeah, that's serious commitment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even Edison, even he was struck by Barnes's intensity. He saw potential in him, not because of his skills or experience at that point, but because of the sheer force of his desire.
Wow. So it was really that desire that got him in the door.
It was. I mean, that ultimately landed him a job with Edison. It's pretty incredible.
It makes you think about, like, your own goals, What do I truly desire, right? And how deeply do I believe I can actually achieve that? Because Hill really emphasizes over and over again that belief is essential.
Oh, yeah.
It's not enough to just want it. You have to believe it's possible.
You have to know that you can get it.
Exactly.
And, even with that burning desire and unshakable belief, there's one more ingredient you need.
Okay, I'm listening. What is it?
Persistence.
Persistence. Okay.
You got to keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
And Hill argues that, most successful people, they achieve their big breakthrough right after a major setback.
Really?
They don't give up when things get tough.
It's almost like they use that setback as fuel.
Totally. He uses this story. It's about Darby, this gold miner who gave up digging for gold just 3 feet from striking it.
Oh, no. Can you imagine?
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But Darby, he learned a crucial lesson from that experience. Later on, he actually became a top life insurance salesman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because he refused to let rejection stop him. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is. It makes you wonder how many of us, give up right before that big break.
Right.
Right before we hit gold.
It's a good question to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of pushing through right when you want to quit, it comes up again with this story. Hill tells about a little girl demanding 50 cents from her uncle.
50 cents. What's so special about 50 cents?
Well, he describes the uncle as pretty intimidating. But this little girl, she just refuses to back down. And eventually he gives in. And Hill asks the reader, what strange power did she wield?
That's a good question.
It is, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
I mean, I think it was her unwavering persistence. She knew what she wanted. 50 cents.
50 cents.
And she wouldn't take no for an answer.
It is an interesting question, though. It makes you think about all the different ways persistence can, show up.
Yeah, it's not always about, brute force.
Right.
Sometimes it's strategy, knowing when to push, when to maybe hold back a little bit.
Absolutely. And Hill suggests that persistence, it's key because often success comes from that extra effort, that willingness to go one step further than everyone else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, this is where things start to get a bit more, I guess, Interesting.
Oh,
Think and Grow Rich delves into the power of the subconscious mind.
the subconscious.
Yeah. And Hell believed that our thoughts, they're incredibly powerful, they can actually shape our reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that concept is really popular today. Think about like manifesting your goals.
Right, right.
Hill was exploring this like decades ago.
Wow, he was ahead of his time.
He was. And he really believed that the subconscious mind plays a huge role in, well, transforming that desire into tangible results.
Turning those thoughts into things.
Exactly. And he tells a personal story that really supports this. His son was deaf,
Oh, wow.
and Hill taught his son to believe that he could hear.
Really? To believe he could hear.
Yes. And get this belief actually led his son to create an invention to improve his hearing.
That's amazing.
It's powerful, isn't it? Now, I mean, we might not all go out and create inventions,
Right.
but it just highlights how important it is what we're, feeding our minds.
Hmm.
If we focus on limitations, that's what we'll probably experience.
We limit ourselves.
Yeah. But if we focus on possibilities, who knows what we can achieve, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. So it's not just wishful thinking. It's about actually training our minds to believe in what we want.
Training your mind.
Yeah. But Hill also cautions, right?
Yeah, he does.
It's not enough to have those positive thoughts. You need something else.
Something else, yes. He says you need specialized knowledge.
Specialized knowledge.
He argues that while general knowledge is important, true success requires specific knowledge.
Okay, so knowledge directly related to your goal.
Exactly. It's about becoming an expert, in your area.
So like a niche, almost.
Yeah, you could say that. And he says, it's fascinating, schooling, formal education, it only teaches you how to learn. It doesn't necessarily teach you what you need to know to succeed.
So it's giving you the tools, but not necessarily the content.
Precisely. It's a call to, always be learning, expand your knowledge throughout your life.
Be a lifelong learner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He gives this great example, a grocery store salesman who lost his job during the Depression.
Oh, tough times.
Yeah. But instead of giving up, he takes a course in accounting.
Oh, wow. So he pivoted.
He did. And you know what? He starts a really successful bookkeeping business.
No way.
Yes. And it just highlights how acquiring that specialized knowledge can open up new opportunities, even during really difficult times.
That's incredible. It's so easy to, I guess, hit a roadblock and think, that's it, game over.
It's easy to get discouraged.
But so often it's an opportunity to, learn something new, pivot. It makes you think, what specialized knowledge do I need to achieve my goals? And am I actively seeking it out?
Those are great questions.
And Hill doesn't stop there, right?
No, he doesn't.
Along with acquiring knowledge, he also talks about the power of imagination.
Imagination. Yeah.
And he breaks it down into two types.
Okay, two types of imagination.
One is, I think it's called synthetic imagination.
Synthetic imagination, that's where you combine existing ideas, sort of remix them.
And the other one is?
The other is creative imagination. That's about receiving new ideas, like completely new ideas, from what he calls infinite intelligence.
Okay, this infinite intelligence thing, this is where it gets a bit
out there.
Yeah, a bit out there. I'm not sure I fully grasp it, but it sounds like he's saying there's like a universal source of knowledge that we can tap into.
Exactly. He believed in this source of knowledge and creativity that, we can all access. Not necessarily talking about a deity, but more like the potential within us all to discover really innovative solutions and ideas.
So it's not just about absorbing knowledge from like books and courses,
Yeah.
but also about tapping into this inner wellspring of creativity.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And this is where that imagination, that's the bridge between the knowledge and actually taking action.
Okay, the bridge between knowledge and action. I like that.
And he believed that man's ability to imagine and then actually harness those forces of nature, that's what has led to, like, the insane progress we've seen over the last century.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to think about it.
It is.
So we've got desire, belief, persistence, knowledge, and now imagination.
That's a lot.
It is. These are some pretty powerful tools, wouldn't you say?
Very powerful.
But as with everything, there's a flip side, right?
There always is.
There's an obstacle that Hell identifies, something that can really derail us.
And that's fear.
Fear.
Yeah, he believed that fear is one of the biggest things that holds people back from, achieving their full potential.
It can be paralyzing, for sure.
It can.
He actually outlines 6 basic fears. He lists them as poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
Wow, that covers a lot.
It does. It's interesting though, right? Because these are like universal fears.
Yeah,
Like he's tapped into, those anxieties that we all face at some point in our lives.
he really has.
Now, I'm curious, which of these fears like resonates with you the most?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I think the fear of criticism, that one can be particularly, I know, paralyzing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it can definitely hold you back.
It can prevent us from sharing our ideas, from taking risks, from putting ourselves out there.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
And he uses this powerful analogy to describe the fear of poverty. He compares poverty and riches to two roads, right?
Two roads
Traveling in opposite directions.
going different ways.
And he says that fear of poverty, it can be so intense that it prevents us from even starting on the path to wealth.
It's like we're frozen in place.
Yeah, stuck.
Exactly. And that's why, it's so important to understand our fears, to address them. Fear can be like a powerful motivator sometimes.
Yeah, it can push you forward.
But it can also be this massive roadblock to success. And Hill believed that by facing our fears head on, that's how we can unlock our true potential.
That's powerful.
It is.
And you know what? He offers a really cool tool for overcoming those fears and achieving bigger things.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
He calls it the mastermind principle.
The mastermind, okay.
It's all about like synergy, bringing together a group of people. They have diverse skills, different knowledge.
So like a team.
Yeah, like a team.
Yeah.
To work towards a common goal. And Hill believed that when minds come together in harmony, they create something greater than, just the sum of their parts.
So the whole is greater than
the sum of its parts.
I like that. It's like a force multiplier.
Yeah, it is.
It's interesting. He uses the story of Charles Schwab and J.P. Morgan to illustrate this.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Schwab had this vision, right, for U.S. Steel, the corporation.
Huge company.
And he presents this vision to Morgan with such conviction that Morgan, he not only invests, but he becomes a key partner in making it happen.
Wow. So their collaboration was essential.
Absolutely. And that's a great example of how the mastermind principle can be used to achieve amazing things. It's not just about brainstorming. It's about creating a supportive environment where people can share ideas, challenge each other, and build on each other's strengths.
That's powerful. And it's not just theory for Hill, right?
Right. Not at all.
He lived this mastermind principle. He had his own mastermind group.
It did.
Yeah, but not with living people. He formed it with, historical figures.
Historical figure.
Yeah, like Edison, Emerson, Lincoln, people he admired.
That's so cool.
He'd hold these imaginary council meetings with them.
Imaginary.
Yeah, seeking their wisdom, their guidance.
That's such an innovative approach.
It is. And it shows that the mastermind principle, it can be applied in so many different ways. It's about surrounding yourself with inspiring figures, whether they're physically present or just in your mind.
Surround yourself with greatness.
Yeah, exactly. And it helps you grow, helps you achieve your goals. It really makes you think, who are the people in my life who can be part of my mastermind?
That's the question, right?
Who can I learn from? Who can I collaborate with? Who can challenge me?
Absolutely. And that's something I think we should all be thinking about. Because this mastermind principle, it's just one of the many powerful tools that Hill lays out in Think and Grow Rich.
And we'll be diving into more of those tools in our next segment, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Think and Grow Rich.
It's great to be back.
We're, uncovering those principles that Hill believed can really lead to success.
Yeah, and there are so many of them.
There are. And one that really stands out to me, even today, is this concept of organized planning.
Organized planning, okay?
It's interesting because, desire and belief, they're crucial, like we talked about.
Right.
But Hill Dell's emphasizes they aren't enough on their own. You need a plan.
You need to actually put those things into action.
Exactly. You have to turn those dreams into, reality. And for that, you need a plan.
It's like having all the ingredients for, I don't know, a delicious meal, but no recipe.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You might have an idea of what you want to cook, but without a plan, it's probably not going to turn out the way you imagined.
Exactly. And Hill, he actually outlines a 6-step process for organized planning.
6 steps. Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
All right, the first step, he says, is to define your definite purpose.
Define your definite purpose.
Yeah, and this is about getting really clear on what you actually want, like that burning desire we talked about earlier.
So it's not just setting a vague goal.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's not just saying, I want to be successful.
Yeah, that's pretty vague.
It is. You got to define what success means to you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So once you've got that definite purpose, the next step, Hill says, is to figure out what you're willing to give in return.
Give and return, okay.
Yeah, because he emphasizes that achievement, it requires effort and sacrifice. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
I think that's something a lot of people forget.
Yeah, we often focus on what we want to gain, but we rarely consider what we're willing to give up to get there.
That's a good point.
It might be time, comfort, maybe even certain relationships that no longer serve us.
Yeah, sometimes you have to let go of things to make space for new things.
Exactly.
So you've defined your purpose, you know what you're willing to sacrifice. What's next?
The next crucial step, Hill says, is setting a deadline.
The deadline.
Yep. It creates a sense of urgency. It helps you stay motivated, keeps you on track.
Deadlines can be super powerful, I agree.
They are. They provide a framework for action, and they prevent us from procrastinating indefinitely.
Because let's be honest, procrastination is real.
Oh, it is. But planning, it's not just about deadlines. It's also about breaking down your goals into manageable steps.
Yeah, making them less overwhelming.
Exactly. He's big on creating a detailed plan of action. It's like taking that big, daunting goal, right, and transforming it into smaller, more achievable milestones.
So instead of climbing a mountain all at once, you're setting up base camps along the way.
Exactly. It makes the whole journey feel less, I don't know, scary, maybe.
Less daunting, for sure.
And this is where that persistence we talked about earlier, it comes back into play. It's about consistently taking action, even when you face setbacks.
Even when you stumble, you got to get back up.
Yep. Hill believed most failures occur because people just give up too soon.
They don't have the stamina to see it through.
They lack that tenacity to push through the challenges.
It reminds me of Darby, the gold miner.
Oh, yeah. Quitting right before he struck gold.
Exactly. It just highlights how important it is to push through those moments of doubt.
To not give in to the frustration.
Exactly.
And Hill, he actually saw failure as like a stepping stone to success, a valuable learning experience. He encourages us to embrace our mistakes and use them to, refine our approach.
So it's not about being perfect.
No, not at all. It's about learning and growing.
It's about that mindset shift, right? Seeing failure as feedback.
Exactly. It's information that you can use to adjust your course and keep moving forward.
And I imagine this is where the mastermind principle can be really helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
Having those people around you.
Surrounding yourself with supportive, knowledgeable individuals, they can provide that encouragement and guidance to help you overcome those obstacles.
It's like having a cheering section and a team of advisors all rolled into one.
Exactly. They believe in you, even when you doubt yourself. And they can offer different perspectives, different solutions when you hit that roadblock.
And he also stresses the importance of, constantly expanding your knowledge.
Lifelong learning.
Yeah, and not just general knowledge, but that specialized knowledge that applies directly to your goals.
Become an expert in your field.
He encourages readers to be curious, to constantly seek out new information.
To be a sponge, soak it all up.
Exactly.
And it's interesting.
What's that?
He emphasizes that the best way to acquire knowledge is through experience.
Not just reading books.
Right. It's not enough to just read about it. You got to get out there and do it.
Learn by doing.
Exactly.
Sure.
You learn from your successes. You learn from your failures. It's all part of the process.
This brings us to, I think, a more fascinating aspect of Think and Grow Rich.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
It's something that might be a bit controversial for some people. It's the idea of sex transmutation.
Oh, yes. This is where Hill delves into the power of sexual energy.
And its potential to be channeled, I guess, into creative and productive pursuits.
Right, so not just expressing it in, the traditional way.
Exactly. He observed that a lot of the successful people he interviewed, they had a high level of sexual energy.
Okay.
But they didn't necessarily, express it in conventional ways. Instead, they learned to, I guess, redirect that energy, that drive and passion towards their goals.
So it's about harnessing that energy.
Exactly.
It's important to, understand this concept within the context of the time the book was written.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the underlying principle, harnessing and channeling energy towards a purpose, that's still relevant today.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about finding that drive, that passion.
He actually uses an example. It's about a sales training expert. And this expert found that the most effective salespeople, they often possessed, a strong sexual drive. They had that charisma, that magnetism.
Drawing people in.
Yeah. And Hill argued that this magnetism, it stemmed from transmuted sexual energy.
Interesting. So it's not about, being overtly sexual.
No, not at all.
It's about that underlying energy
It's about that energy, that passion, that drive that they were able to channel.
and use it to their advantage.
Exactly.
Hill's point is that this primal energy, when it's directed appropriately, it can fuel ambition, creativity, even leadership qualities.
Makes you think about how often we try to, I don't know, suppress these natural energies instead of understanding them.
Instead of harnessing them
Yeah,
for positive outcomes.
right.
And Hill is very clear. He emphasizes the importance of balance.
Okay, so it's not about going overboard?
No, he cautions against overindulgence.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding a healthy equilibrium.
Finding that middle ground.
Exactly, where this powerful energy can be channeled constructively
So it's not about denying or oppressing, it's about understanding and directing it.
in a way that aligns with your goals.
I like that. And speaking of powerful forces, Hill also delves into this fascinating realm of what he calls the sixth sense.
The sixth sense.
Yeah, he describes it as creative imagination, and he suggests it's like this link between our finite minds and a source of, well, infinite knowledge and creativity.
So tapping into something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, I find this whole concept of the sixth sense really intriguing. It sounds like he's suggesting we all have access to this, like higher level of intuition and insight.
That we can tap into a deeper wisdom.
Exactly.
And Hill believed this sixth sense, it's accessible through faith and autosuggestion. It's about, consciously cultivating a belief in our ability to access this source of knowledge and inspiration.
So this is where that idea of programming our subconscious minds comes in.
Yes, through affirmations, visualization, other techniques, we can influence our thoughts, our beliefs.
And ultimately shape our reality.
Precisely. And he provides specific techniques for using autosuggestion.
Like what kind of technique?
He emphasizes repetition, emotional intensity. It's not enough to just passively think positive thoughts. You got to actively, passionately believe them.
Feel them in your core.
Yes. And, Hill's own story is a great example of this.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
He describes how he used this technique. He called them imaginary council meetings.
Imaginary council meetings. That sounds interesting.
It is. He would visualize himself, conversing with this council of his heroes like Edison, Emerson, Lincoln.
Wow.
He'd seek their wisdom, their guidance. It was a form of mental rehearsal, a way of imprinting their qualities onto his own subconscious.
So he's like modeling himself after these great figures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he claimed this practice really significantly impacted his thinking and his character development.
That's fascinating. It shows how visualization can be so powerful for, personal growth.
If we can convince ourselves of something deeply enough, it can become our reality.
I love that.
And Hill also emphasizes the importance of our social environment. Its influence on our success.
Our environment.
Yeah, like the people we surround ourselves with.
Okay, so our social circle.
Exactly. He believed we become like the people we spend the most time with.
Makes sense.
Right. And he called this the mastermind principle.
The mastermind again.
It's about being intentional with who you surround yourself with. People who inspire you, support you, challenge you to grow.
Your tribe, your crew.
Exactly. And he even suggested that there's a psychic synergy that happens when minds come together in harmony. It's like this collective intelligence that emerges.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it propels the group towards success in ways that wouldn't be possible individually.
It reminds me of that saying, 2 heads are better than 1.
Right. But take it to a whole new level.
Yeah. It also makes me think of the story of Charles Schwab and J.P. Morgan.
Oh, yes. How their collaboration led to, the creation of U.S. Steel.
Exactly. A massive achievement.
And Hill really believed that success is rarely a solo endeavor. Building a strong network, mentors, collaborators, like-minded individuals, that can significantly increase your chances of achieving your goals.
So it's about finding your people.
It is. Find your tribe. So we've talked about desire, belief, persistence, planning, knowledge, imagination, the power of the subconscious, the mastermind principle.
That's a lot. It's like a whole toolkit for success.
It is. But Hill, he also acknowledges that there's this major obstacle that can, derail us on the path to success.
Yeah.
And that's fear.
Fear. Always lurking in the shadows.
It is. And he identifies 6 basic fears that he believes hold most people back.
The same 6 we talked about before.
Yes. The fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
Yeah, those are some heavy hitters.
They are. And he argued that these fears, they're often deeply rooted in our subconscious.
planted there by negative experiences.
Yeah, limiting beliefs. And until we address those fears head on, he argues, they'll continue to sabotage our efforts.
So we have to face them.
We do. And he offers several strategies for overcoming them.
Like what? Give me some tools.
He suggests using tools like autosuggestion, positive affirmations.
Okay.
But most importantly, developing a deep understanding of the nature of fear itself.
So understanding where it's coming from.
Exactly. He argued that fear is often a product of our imagination.
We create it in our minds.
We do. It's a magnification of threats that may not be as dangerous as we think they are.
We make them bigger than they really are.
Exactly. He famously said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. It's about recognizing that fear is often a choice.
A state of mind.
Yes, a state of mind that we can control.
That's empowering.
It is. And he also emphasizes cultivating a strong sense of self-belief.
Okay, so believing in yourself.
When we believe in ourselves, our abilities, we're less likely to be swayed by those doubts and anxieties.
Less likely to let fear take over.
Exactly.
Okay.
It reminds me of that quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's about reclaiming our power,
Taking control.
recognizing that we have the ability to choose our thoughts, our reactions, even in the face of fear.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
And Hill, he even suggests that sometimes fear can be a sign that we're on the right track.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It can indicate that we're pushing ourselves, beyond our comfort zones into those new territories of growth and possibility.
It's like that saying, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Exactly.
Fear could be like a signpost,
Pointing the way.
pointing us towards the things that truly matter to us.
The things we're meant to achieve.
And Hill believed that by facing our fears head on, we not only overcome them, but we also tap into this reservoir of inner strength.
We become more resilient.
Exactly. And that empowers us to achieve those extraordinary things.
So it's not about being fearless. It's about facing our fears.
He believed that understanding and mastering our fears, that unlocks the door to limitless possibilities.
That's a powerful thought.
It is. And it paves the way for a life of abundance, fulfillment, and, genuine success.
So in essence, Hill's message is, don't let fear paralyze you.
Embrace it. Embrace it as a challenge, an opportunity to grow,
Yeah.
a stepping stone to, fulfilling your potential.
I love that. And with that inspiring message, we'll transition into the final part of our deep dive into Think and Grow Rich.
We'll explore even more of Hill's insights and what they mean for you today.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Think and Grow Rich. It's been quite a journey, wouldn't you say?
It has.
We've covered so much ground: the power of desire, persistence, the importance of specialized knowledge, and of course, facing those fears head on.
A lot to unpack.
It is. And it's amazing to me how, relevant all these principles still are today, even though Hill wrote this book decades ago.
Oh, absolutely. Timeless wisdom.
It really is. And as we wrap up, I think it's worth revisiting one of those core themes that keeps popping up throughout the book: the power of the subconscious mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hill truly believed that our thoughts create our reality.
He did. And he talks about this idea of autosuggestion. It's essentially about consciously influencing those subconscious beliefs and thoughts, right?
Reprogramming our minds.
Exactly. He argued that by repeatedly feeding our minds with positive affirmations, visualizing our desired outcomes, we can actually shape our experiences.
That's what we want.
Exactly. And it's so fascinating to me because, this concept, it's gained a lot of traction recently with things like manifestation, the law of attraction. But Hill was writing about this back in the early 1900s.
Way ahead of his time.
He was. It makes you wonder if we're only just rediscovering the true power of our minds.
Tapping into that potential.
Exactly.
And going back to the mastermind principle, he also suggested that there's a psychic element to it.
Psychic.
Yeah. He said that a third mind is created when, two or more minds come together in harmony.
So it's not just the sum of the individual minds.
Right.
It's something more than that.
He's getting at this idea of synergy, where the combined energy, the focus of a group, it can create something much greater than what anyone could achieve on their own. Imagine musicians jamming together, right? They create something magical that transcends their individual talents.
Oh, I love that analogy. And it makes me think about how important it is, like we've been saying, to surround ourselves with people who inspire us, who challenge us, and who support our growth.
Your tribe.
Exactly. He'll believe that our environment plays a huge role in shaping those beliefs and behaviors. He talks about this in the context of the mastermind principle, emphasizing the need to, I guess, carefully select those individuals, the ones who have the qualities we admire and who will help us reach our goals.
Like attracts like.
Right. And he even suggests that there's like a sort of psychic connection that can form within a mastermind group.
Where ideas flow more freely, creativity just blossoms.
It's powerful stuff.
It is.
You know, we've talked a lot about I guess, the mental and emotional aspects of success, but Hill also emphasizes that we got to take action. He outlines a 6-step process for organized planning, starting with defining your definite purpose.
Getting clear on what you want.
Right. He stressed the importance of clarity, knowing exactly what you want to achieve, not just, I want to be rich.
Or I want to be successful.
Right. You got to define what those terms mean to you.
What does success look like for you?
And he also talks about having that burning desire for your goal. It's not just wanting it. It's got to be this deep, passionate yearning.
The fuel that keeps you going.
It is.
Yeah.
And he also emphasizes the need to be willing to, give something in return.
To pay the price.
To pay the price, exactly. Understanding that success requires effort, sacrifice. You got to step outside that comfort zone.
No pain, no gain.
Kind of, yeah. He also says once you've, defined your purpose and you're willing to pay the price, you need to set a deadline.
A deadline to create that urgency.
Yeah, it helps you stay focused, prevents procrastination.
Keeps you on track.
It does. And then comes, the crucial step of creating that detailed plan of action. This is where you break down that big goal into smaller steps.
Bite-sized pieces.
Exactly.
Figuring out the specific actions you need to take.
To reach that destination.
Well, remember, Hill believed that knowledge is power, but only when it's applied.
You got to put it into practice.
He encouraged readers to, constantly seek out new information, become experts in their fields, never stop learning.
Always be growing.
Always be growing, exactly.
And of course, he also emphasized having that positive mental attitude.
Believing in yourself.
Focusing on your strengths, seeing challenges as opportunities. And it's so interesting how all these principles, they connect, they build on each other.
It's a holistic approach.
It is. It's not just about focusing on one thing. It's about cultivating this whole approach to success that encompasses your thoughts, beliefs, actions, and relationships.
Everything is connected.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to remember, Think and Grow Rich. It's not just about financial success.
It's about so much more than that.
It's about, tapping into your full potential, overcoming your fears, creating a life that aligns with your values, your aspirations.
Living a fulfilling life.
Exactly.
And remember, the journey's just as important as the destination. Enjoy the process. Learn, grow, become the best version of yourself. That's what it's all about.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Think and Grow Rich. We hope you've gained some valuable insights that'll help you on your journey to success. Until next time, keep thinking and keep growing.